Alright, so getting started is just like you would do when you're going to kickstart it. Turn the ignition on, don't touch the decompression yet, and kick the kicker over until you see the amp meter deflect. Then push the compression release and just go until, just give it a little push until the amp meter hits center again. And that'll put you at top dead center, which means the valves are closed, which means we can adjust them now. Okay, on the side of the engine we've got this little cover that covers up the push rods, and they are adjustable. So you just take a wrench on this particular part of the motorcycle, open that baby up. Brilliant. And you can see this is a rubber gasket that I'll be able to use again, so you don't have to buy a new gasket. Okay, so you can see these. You want to make sure that they spin freely, which they do, but they have no up and down play. So this one doesn't move up and down at all. This one has a teeny bit of movement, so I've got to get in there with some little wrenches and adjust it. Alright, we use a 12mm on the bottom and a 13 on the top. And just loosen up that bottom nut, which is a lock nut. Alright, then you use a 13 on the bottom to crank it clockwise, crank the bottom one clockwise, which makes the push rod longer. Yeah, so that's pretty good. Now there's no movement. Now when I tighten up this lock nut, I have to be sure that I haven't made it longer or shorter in doing that, and make sure that it still spins freely like this one and will not move up and down when I try to move it up and down. If it doesn't spin freely, that means it's too tight and you have to loosen it. Alright, you can see I've gotten it adjusted. It's 13mm on the top wrench, 13mm on the bottom, and a 12 in the middle. Now it's best if you have two 13mm wrenches so you can work these two at the same time. This one you can pretty much spin with your finger most of the time. And I didn't have two 13mm wrenches, so I've used a 14 on the top just to hold it still. And then when it came time to torque it down, then I used a 13 and a 12. So now it's time to put this cover back on. And the only trick here is that this rubber piece on the back of the cover has a little hole in it that needs to go down, pointing down. So I put that on there with that thing pointing down. Washer's built into it. Spin it back on. And go for a ride.